Welcome back. It's another episode of the Field of 68's 2023 NBA Draft Prospect Profiles. I'm Greg Waddell. Rob Doster is here, and we are talking about one of our collective favorite players in this draft. That would be Cason Wallace, 6'4", 193-pound guard out of Kentucky. You know what they say about Kentucky guards, Rob? 12 points a game, 3.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 2 steals, half a block, 35% from three. A very, very solid, I would call it little flash, productive player that I can see doing a lot of things at the next level. Where does his game start for you when thinking about how it translates to the NBA?
The defensive end. He is such a good defender. And I'm not just talking about like the one-on-one stuff where he's great. Like he's very good at moving his feet. He's very good at getting in a stance. Like he will slide with you. He will go chest to chest with you. He's not really reaching. And when he does reach, he is getting a steal. He's got some of the quickest hands I think I've ever seen. I think he's tough enough to be able to guard up. Like if you need him to guard fours, I don't think that he's going to get bullied in that situation. I think he's strong. I think he's physical. That all of that's like on ball stuff. Like he is going to be an elite defender in the NBA. He was an elite defender in college. I have no doubt about that. The stuff that stood out to me more than anything else is the off-ball stuff, the plays that he makes. There's so many times when you are watching the tape of Kentucky where Cason Wallace pops up, makes a play, and you're like, what the fuck is he doing there? How did you end up in this spot? How did you end up in this situation? Like, why are you making this read? Why are you there? What are you doing here? And it all is him getting steals, making plays, getting layups at the other end of the floor. He is the epitome to me of a winning basketball player. He just knows how to do all of the little things that you need to be able to do to win basketball games. And to me, I have 3 comparisons written down for him. I think that at a minimum, a worst case scenario, we're talking about a Pat Bev kind of a guy, right? Just an elite defensive weapon that is good enough to be able to like knock down some threes, is going to be a rotational piece, is going to help you win basketball games, right? I think that's the worst case scenario is what you're getting with Cason Wallace. I think that the median outcome is probably Marcus Smart. And you just look at what Marcus Smart has done since he's been at Boston, how good Boston has been since there's a reason why this dude is like never leaves the starting lineup, right? That is what I think Cason Wallace probably is most likely going to end up being. But if things come together offensively, if he gets better shooting off the dribble, if he's able to showcase what he can do in ball screen situations a little bit more, if he kind of puts it all together on the offensive end, I think we're talking about Drew Holiday. And if you know me, you know how highly I respect Drew Holiday as a defender, as a point guard, and as the 2021 NBA champion. I think that he is just fantastic. I would take Cason Wallace like I said this on the Keontae George preview. I think he's probably the 4th best college prospect for me, somewhere in that range. I love what he can do defensively. I love what he will be offensively. And here is the single biggest thing, Greg. I'm going to say some names to you. Devin Booker. Was he better in college or better in the NBA?
NBA.
Tyler Hero, better in college or the NBA?
NBA.
Tyrese Maxey, better in college or the NBA?
That one's debatable. He was great in college, but NBA.
De'Aaron Fox, better in college or the NBA?
Also debatable. NBA though.
Do I need to keep going down this list?
These guys were pretty good in college too, is the point. But
they were fine, but they weren't
Kentucky guards.
It's
Kentucky guards. You'd always take Kentucky guards, right? Now, there are so many Kentucky guards that if we wanted to play the flip side of this, we certainly could. But Cason is not going to fail in the NBA for 2 reasons. You don't outsmart him, and you don't out-tough him. And if you have those 2 things with the frame that he has, with the quickness that he has, like he just has to be a rotational piece in the NBA, even if his worst case scenario happens. Like you said, it's Pat Bev. Like unless he lands on a total losing team that's trying to lose games, he's going to be able to contribute to what an NBA team wants, right? Because he's so competitive. He has elite hands. He's the best steals guy in this draft. His instincts are spectacular. On ball, he's dominant. Like I saw at the Champions Classic where, you knew the name of the guy, right? I'd never seen him really at all before one of the first games of the season. And 3 minutes into the game, I'm just like, this dude's taking Tyson Walker completely out of the game.
He had like 8 steals in that game.
It was ridiculous. He was all over the court. And for an 18-year-old kid, you're just like, what is happening right now? And I think that IQ I mentioned, I think it translates to offense too. Like, I think he's a really smart floor spacer. The most interesting part of the Cason Wallace conversation to me is that, and you know this because we talked a lot about during the season, what Kentucky's offense went through this year was quite a roller coaster ride. And I think Cason Wallace sort of just went with the swings of it. He did what Cal asked him to do, and that changed throughout the course of the season. Sahvir Wheeler left. They had nobody on the team with an assist rate higher than 10 after Sahvir Wheeler left the team. Cason Wallace now has to play point guard. He has to take a facilitation role on. I thought he did pretty good at that, but I think what's maybe not missing, but what I would have loved to see, what would have taken him from like, he's going to be a can't miss rotational guy to maybe he could be an NBA star for me, would be if he showed a little more scoring upside last year at Kentucky. Because a lot of those Kentucky guards you named were guys I didn't question, like, can they be 20 a game guys in the NBA? If they hit 100%, they can. With Cason, I still don't know if I see it. Like, I don't like that Jacob Toppin and Antonio Reeves scored more points a game than Cason Wallace last year at Kentucky.
Yeah, I think a lot of that was scheme, and a lot of that was what Cal wanted him to do. But you're 100% correct. Like, that's where the ceiling comes from. What will he be on the offensive end of the floor? I think some of it is decision making. One thing that I do think is worth mentioning is that, especially when Sahvir Wheeler was there, and when you would have Sahvir on the floor with Cason Wallace and Jacob Toppin and Chris Livingston and Oscar Tshiebwe, there's not a lot of room to drive. And Cason's not a guy where he's gonna he's not Keontae George. He doesn't have all these moves in his bag. We're not seeing step backs. We're not seeing pullbacks. Like, he's not this elite offensive weapon that's going to create stuff in isolation. What he needs is to be able to, attack a closeout and get a driving lane and get to the basket. And there were no driving lanes anywhere on the floor with Kentucky last year. They just basically put everybody in the paint because you knew you didn't have that many shooters and you needed extra bodies to keep Oscar Tshiebwe off the glass. Like, it wasn't the most difficult scout in the world to figure out what to do to stop Kentucky offensively. Our partner for today's episode is Athletic Greens. I started taking AG1 during the college basketball season, and I loved the impact that it had on my energy levels. I'm a big coffee in the morning guy, but by the time that the afternoon would hit, I needed another boost. AG1 helped me tremendously, especially on those days when I didn't want to get up off the couch and go hit the gym. Their tagline is AG1 is comprehensive health and the power of habit in one. And man, that could not be more true. It's nearly impossible to eat and drink in a healthy manner in the month of February and the month of March when you are in my business. And AG1 was exactly the supplement that I needed to improve my gut health and cover my nutritional basis for the day. I've continued that into April. I've continued that into May, and I'm going to continue that the rest of the summer. All I have to do is mix a scoop of AG1 with some water, or maybe add it into a smoothie, and I'm ready to go. Do it after lunch, and you'll be ready to go for the rest of the day. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/field68. That's field 68 FIELD, the number 6, the number 8, and you can get yours now. So check it out and help support this show. Thanks. So when you get to the NBA level and all of a sudden, you're going up against better defenders, but instead of having 6 bodies in the paint, when you put the ball on the floor, like, there's no bodies in the paint. Everybody's out on the perimeter, and you don't have guys leaving to help because you'd rather give up a contested layup than you would a wide open 3. So that is something that I think is going to be interesting to see with Cason Wallace. Like, how does his game translate when he gets to a place where there is more space for him to be able to operate? And I don't think we can really have an answer for that until we see it. But for my money, like, if you can get a guy that what he's going to be defensively, what he's going to be in terms of winning mentality and winning culture and fitting into what a good team needs him to be, I don't know why you wouldn't take this dude, unless you are a team that needs to, like, the difference between him and Keontae George. And I'm just saying that because we literally just did this for Keontae George like 2 minutes ago, is that I think Keontae George is the lottery ticket, right? You draft him knowing that there is a percentage chance that he could end up being a top 10 player in the league at some point, like a Devin Booker level player, if everything connects. Whereas with Cason Wallace, like, you don't have that same ceiling. I don't think we're looking at him and saying this guy has a chance to be first team All NBA one day. You're getting him because he could be a very good starter on a very good team. And the potential is like, maybe an all-star, right? That's what Drew Holiday has made, a couple all-star teams, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
So like, if everything comes together, like, you're looking at a guy that'll make a couple all-star teams. We're not talking about a guy that you can build an entire franchise around. And that's the difference. So I would expect that he probably falls in this draft. And if you are a team that is, a 6 seed, a 7 seed, a team that needs to improve a little bit defensively, a team that is looking just to add some pieces that will help you win basketball games, that's your guy, Cason Wallace.
Yeah, I'd scoop him up anywhere from like 16 on if I'm a team that has real aspirations of heading into a stretch of consecutive playoff series. Like, if you can get Cason Wallace and you're trying to win games and you're built to win games now, like the next 3 years, he contributes automatically, even if he doesn't reach his ceiling. So I like that. Yeah, I also, to your point, like the spacing in Kentucky, he shot 64% at the rim last year, despite there being zero spacing. That's really impressive for a 6'4" guard that was essentially operating as a point guard. Like, I'm very impressed by that. There's not much statistically you can point to that is a red flag here, even if he hasn't been this dynamic 3-level scorer. Like, he's been efficient pretty much everywhere, and he's not going to be asked to be a primary scorer in the NBA right away. He's going to be asked to be a guy who guards the best perimeter scorer, plays his ass off on that end, and then can hit open shots here and there and contribute with one dribble pull-ups. And he's good going both directions at making those little elbow jumpers right now. Let me give you 2 comps from my end quickly and see what you think. They're not as rosy as Drew Holiday, but one guy, I was literally watching this game while watching his film last night, and I'm like, I see some of that there. Bruce Brown, but better. But Bruce Brown's a guy efficient now. It took him a couple years to get there. Great steals guy, averaged 11, 4, and 3 on a great team, 48% from the floor, 35% from 3. Like, to me, that's almost exactly the line Cason Wallace could give you in a couple years. And I think a best case scenario for me for Cason, I'm not sure I see all-star upside like you. I do see Avery Bradley. I see a guy who is a starter for probably 10 years on playoff teams almost every single year. If he doesn't stick with one franchise, he hops around and he's a hired gun for some of the best teams in the league. And he comes in and gives you really good minutes, even as a vet 10 years from now.
Yeah, I like both of those. They're all like, these are all the same kind of archetype. It just depends on, the difference between Drew Holiday and Avery Bradley is one guy figured out how to be a 20-point per game scorer and average 6 assists a game or whatever he ended up averaging. Right.
Yep.
And if Cason Wallace can get to that level, then he could be Drew Holiday. I think that is a top 5% outcome, but I don't think it's out of the question.
Yep. And
bet on Kentucky guards, Gregory. Bet on Kentucky guards.
Oh, always. All right. If you want more of our NBA draft prospect breakdowns, you can get all of them in the description below. We're doing more than 50 of these over the next 6 weeks leading up to the NBA draft itself. And make sure you tap in for our live mock draft. We'll bring in some prospect experts. That'll happen a week before the draft takes place. For Rob Doster, for John Calipari, for Kentucky Guards Everywhere, I'm Greg Waddell. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching the Field of 68. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, hit that like button, share this link with your friends, or check out the description for some other places that you can consume Field of 68 content.